the United States has now completely lost its soybean export market to China. And corn, once a symbol of abundance, pride, and American prosperity, is now being rejected around the world. Farmers are planting with hope, only to fear that political decisions might crush the market before harvest even begins. International buyers are turning their backs. Contracts cancelled, containers returned, prices are collapsing, and as the Midwest scrambles to find buyers, Canada, once overlooked, is stepping into America's old role with strategic precision. Their corn is cleaner, pricier, and in higher demand, signed away in billion-dollar deals with Europe, Japan, and South Korea. This isn't just about trade. It's a seismic shift, a silent collapse. So why is American corn being rejected? What changed? And if we lose corn, what comes next? Let's start with the 6 U.S. states most deeply affected, where the golden kernels of American pride now rot in the fields. Iowa, the golden fields gone silent. Iowa, once the undisputed king of corn, is now drowning in unsold grain. With over 13 million acres of cornfields, it used to feed millions. But today, the price of corn has fallen below $3.50 per bushel, cheaper than a cup of gas station coffee. Many farmers are choosing not to harvest at all. Silos are full, storage space is gone, no one is buying. One farmer admitted, for the first time in 30 years, I'm letting it rot in the field. Harvesting only means more losses. Grain processes that once operated 24/7 now run just 2 or 3 days a week. Workers have left agriculture for food delivery jobs. Even schools are cutting costs. Air conditioning shut off, students using hand fans in the summer heat. Some children have dropped out entirely, as their parents can no longer afford transportation. A state once defined by growth and grain is now marked by silence and stillness. Illinois, from bounty to bankruptcy, the lungs of U.S. agriculture are gasping for air. Once hailed as the land of abundance, Illinois has long been a pillar of American agriculture. If Iowa is the beating heart, then Illinois is its lungs, pumping life through the veins of the Midwest with its massive rail networks, sprawling grain elevators, and bustling export terminals. But today, those lungs are failing. And the air is thick with uncertainty. Just a few years ago, Illinois farmers stood proud. Trains filled with golden kernels thundered across the landscape, carrying corn from field to port. Grain packing plants ran round the clock. Fertile land changed hands at premium prices. And rural schools buzzed with the optimism of a new generation. That picture has all but vanished. Now, trains that once rumbled with purpose sit rusting on the tracks. The hum of conveyor belts has slowed to a whisper. Farmers who once operated like CEOs of the land now count every cent. Fertilizer costs have doubled. Agricultural loans are nearing 9% interest, levels not seen in decades. And as corn prices crash below production cost, families are forced into impossible decisions. Tractors are up for sale on Craigslist. Farms passed down through generations are being auctioned off, sometimes to foreign buyers, including Chinese investors. Homes once warmed by the fruits of the land are now listed in foreclosure databases. One farmer, standing beside an empty grain silo, remarked bitterly, "I don't know if I'm farming or starring in a Midwest edition of Survivor." In Joliet and other transport hubs, the once constant movement of corn has slowed to a crawl. Corn packing plants have slashed orders by up to 60%. Workers aren't officially laid off, but they now rotate unpaid shifts, clinging to hope. Truckers, sidelined by the shrinking demand, have turned to Uber or food delivery gigs just to make ends meet. And in rural school districts across the state, the impact ripples deeper. It's not innovation that pushed schools to adopt online learning, it's fuel costs. Buses now sit idle because districts can't afford to keep them running. A teacher from southern Illinois shared, "I teach geography from my kitchen over Zoom while my daughter does her homework beside me and asks if we can afford dinner tonight. Sometimes, I can't answer." Meanwhile, in Chicago, once the industrial engine of the Midwest, things aren't much better. Budget shortfalls have led to police resignations and essential service cuts. As families pack up and leave the state, urban flight is no longer a future threat, it's current reality. Illinois, the proud home of soybeans, corn, and resilience, now finds itself cornered, pressured by falling commodity prices, collapsing infrastructure, and a system that no longer seems built to support the very people who feed the nation. While across the border, Canadian farmers sign multi-million-dollar export contracts with South Korea and Europe, Illinois farmers stare down bankruptcy notices and wonder what happened to the dream. The question is no longer, how do we fix this? It's, can we afford to wait any longer? Nebraska, where fields of corn become fields of doubt. Nebraska has always been more than just a state. It's been a symbol, a place where faith in the land ran as deep as the roots beneath its endless plains. For generations, Nebraskans sowed seeds with confidence, trusting that hard work, fertile soil, and American markets would reward their labor. But now, those fields stretch across the horizon not as a testament to abundance, but as a canvas of anxiety. The sun still shines, the soil is still rich, but something vital has vanished: certainty. Export contracts that once linked Nebraska's harvest to Asia's dinner tables have quietly disappeared. Global buyers, once eager, now look elsewhere. Transport costs have surged beyond sustainable levels, forcing producers to make impossible decisions: ship at a loss or don't ship at all. Weather, always a risk, has turned cruel, swinging between floods and droughts, pushing farmers deeper into the red. A farmer in Lincoln put it simply: "Last year I planted to sell. This year, I planted to survive. Next year, I'll probably just post it on TikTok to commiserate with the others." That quote, half joke, half heartbreak, captures the grim mood spreading across Nebraska's countryside. In towns like North Platte, Hastings, and Scottsbluff, the signs of decline are everywhere. Gas stations are closing, not because there's no demand, but because there's no economy left to support them. Local banks operate just 2 days a week, their foot traffic dwindled to a trickle. Department stores have been replaced by consignment shops and second-hand outlets, filled with the remnants of better times. And then there are the cooperatives. Once vibrant centers of planning, trade, and community, they've become quiet rooms of resignation. The farmers who gather there no longer discuss markets or harvest projections, they share loss of contracts, of homes, of identity. A once reliable career path is becoming a dead end. All the while, just across the border, a different story plays out. On Japanese television screens, Canada runs polished advertisements promoting its corn: clean, non-GMO, certified, and traceable. While Nebraskan farmers watch crops rot in silos, Canada's exports are soaring. They've spent years investing in sustainable practices, global certification, and bilateral trade agreements. Today, they're reaping the benefits of that quiet, strategic preparation. The contrast is painful. In rural Nebraska, agricultural dreams are collapsing under the weight of global disinterest and domestic disrepair. Roads are empty. Machinery sits unused. Conversations revolve not around future plans but survival strategies. And yet, through all of this, Nebraskans continue to plant, even if the harvest is less about crops and more about dignity. Because in these fields, even when corn can't grow hope, people still try. But for how much longer? Minnesota, a quiet crisis in every classroom. In Minnesota, the corn still grows tall, but so does the silence. There are no protests here, no headlines, no sudden collapse, just a slow unraveling, one field, one family, one forgotten town at a time. The harvest season comes, as it always has. Machines hum through golden fields, the smell of earth and diesel mixing in the air. But when the corn is collected, it has nowhere to go. Grain silos are already full. Cooperatives across the state have quietly stopped purchasing, not because of lack of demand, but because they're out of room and out of options. For farmers, it's a devastating paradox: abundance that brings only anxiety. They harvest because they must, but they know that with every bushel brought in, they edge closer to financial ruin. The markets aren't buying, the storage facilities are full, and hauling fees have spiked. In rural towns like Mankato, Crookston, and Wilmar, some farmers are resorting to dumping crops or leaving them in the fields to rot, because harvesting them only compounds the loss. But it's not just farms that are suffering. The impact of this quiet crisis spills into every corner of rural Minnesota, especially at schools. In classrooms once buzzing with energy, the attendance sheets tell a different story. Teachers report a disturbing rise in absenteeism, not from sickness, but from economic struggle. One high school teacher from southern Minnesota recalled a conversation that haunts her. "My student told me, 'Miss, I want to come to school, but Mom said we have to save on gas. It's 35 minutes each way, and we don't have money for lunch either.'" Imagine being 14 years old and choosing between your education and a tank of fuel. This is what the breakdown of agriculture looks like. Not just lost crops, but lost childhoods. Seed and fertilizer sales have plunged by more than 60%. Retailers report that most farmers are buying only the bare minimum, or nothing at all. Investment in equipment, soil testing, irrigation, frozen. There's no point in spending money on a crop that might never leave the county. The local economy, built on agriculture's seasonal rhythm, is losing its pulse. Repair shops, seed distributors, feed suppliers, all are struggling. In the town of Albert Lea, a long-standing hardware store has cut its operating days in half. A family-run diner that once served hearty breakfasts to field workers now opens only on weekends. Their weekday customers are gone, because their work is gone. Unlike dramatic recessions, Minnesota's crisis makes no noise. There's no Wall Street crash, no political scandal. Only a subtle, relentless erosion. A community worn down by late payments, maxed out silos, and postponed dreams. Dignity, in Minnesota, is now a quiet thing. It's a father walking 10 miles to work because the truck ran out of gas. A mother skipping meals so her children can have lunch at school. A teenager applying for part-time work to cover the electric bill. Meanwhile, just across the border, Canadian farms are booming. Their corn, certified, traceable, chemical-free, is commanding premium prices on the global market. Canada invested in its farmers, in sustainable practices, and in long-term trade relationships. Minnesota, like much of America's Corn Belt, was left to fend for itself in a changing world. It didn't happen all at once. But that's how slow failures work. No explosion, just silence. So if you drive through Minnesota this harvest season, you might still see the fields. Still see the corn. But look closer. You'll see, for sale, signs on barns. You'll see teenagers working shifts after school. You'll see fewer tractors, fewer trucks, fewer smiles. The crop still grows, but the future does not. Indiana, when no one buys, no one works. Indiana, once a proud bridge between America's farming roots and its industrial future, is now caught in a standstill. Drive through Rush County or the back roads of Terre Haute, and you'll see golden fields stretching for miles. Corn, ripe and ready. The kind of crop that used to mean a profitable harvest and full silos. But now, no one is harvesting. Not because the crops aren't ready, but because the market isn't. Fuel prices are up, labor costs are up, but corn prices are down. Way down, below the cost of production. And so the grim calculation begins. For many farmers, harvesting means losing more money than leaving the crop in the field to rot. A farmer in Decatur County put it bluntly, "I'm not giving up. I just can't keep paying to work without getting paid. This is not laziness. This is economic survival." The pain doesn't stop at the farm gate. Indiana is also home to a robust agricultural manufacturing sector. Cities like Fort Wayne and Indianapolis once thrived on orders for harvesters, planters, and grain dryers. Now, those factories stand idle for days. Orders have slowed to a trickle. Some workers are being placed on rotating shifts, 1 week on, 1 week off. Others are being asked to take voluntary unpaid leave. It's a new term that really just means there's not enough work. Restaurants that once served crowds of workers and farmers now open only half the week. In places like Lafayette, lunch rushes have disappeared. No harvest means no customers. And no customers means cooks, servers, and cleaners lose their hours, if not their jobs. Even Indiana's vaunted balance between agriculture and industry is beginning to tilt toward collapse. When farmers can't sell, they don't harvest. When they don't harvest, they don't buy equipment. When equipment isn't bought, it isn't built. When it isn't built, people aren't employed. A perfectly looped economy, now frozen in every direction. And beyond the numbers, there's something more intangible being lost: rhythm. The seasonal rhythm that shaped life in small towns, from school schedules to factory shifts. The steady pulse of planting, harvesting, repairing, shipping, gone. Replaced with an unsettling quiet, like a song stuck on pause. What's especially painful is the ripple of this collapse. Schools are seeing cutbacks. Community events are being cancelled. Youth programs are underfunded. In many towns, church groups and non-profits are stepping in where the government can't, or won't. Meanwhile, across the northern border, Canadian farmers, armed with government-backed trade deals and advanced infrastructure, are reaping the benefits of stability and strategy. They're investing in their next season while Indiana farmers are unsure if there will even be a next season. Indiana, once a state defined by its resilience and self-reliance, now finds itself asking a dangerous question: What do we do when we're ready to work, but the world doesn't need what we produce? It's a crisis not just of agriculture, but of identity. Because when the corn is ripe but the machines are silent, it's no longer just a market problem. It's a sign that the entire system is faltering, from soil to school, from field to factory. Indiana is waiting, for buyers, for policies, for relief, but mostly, it's waiting for someone to notice. Missouri, the final link breaks. Missouri was never the biggest name in American corn production, but it played one of the most critical roles. It wasn't the field where seeds were planted, it was the final stop, the exit gate, the dispatch zone where corn met the global market. From St. Joseph to Springfield, Missouri served as the state that tied the entire supply chain together. It was the place where corn was cleaned, packaged, certified, labeled, and shipped to the world. A vital link, silent, mechanical, and efficient. And now, that link is snapping. Processing and packing plants across Missouri have slashed operations, some by 40%, others shutting down entirely. Not due to natural disasters, worker strikes, or pandemics, but for a far more devastating reason: there's simply nothing left to ship. Corn is being rejected, contracts are gone, the trucks don't come, and when nothing moves, everything stops. At a packaging facility near Jefferson City, conveyor belts have gone still. The workers who once wrapped pallets for export markets now sit in extended breaks that stretch into indefinite furloughs. "We didn't get laid off," said one worker, "they just stopped calling us back." It's a quiet collapse, hidden in plain sight. The impact trickles down the supply chain like a slow leak. Diesel sales at Missouri truck stops have dropped by more than 25%, a quiet but unmistakable sign that freight traffic has thinned out. Truckers are parking rigs that once roared across the Midwest. Some are trying to sell off their equipment to cover outstanding loans. Others have switched careers entirely, delivering groceries, driving rideshare, or joining construction crews in neighboring states. The ripple effect is relentless. Roadside diners that once buzzed with conversations from long-haul drivers are eerily quiet. Open signs flicker in the windows, but business is sparse. A cafe owner in Roller explained, "I used to bake 50 pies a day. Now I don't even need 10. The truckers were our heartbeat, and now we're flatlining." In small towns, the silence speaks louder than any news bulletin. It's in the half-stocked grocery shelves, the reduced operating hours at the feed store, the handwritten, "closed on Tuesdays and Thursdays" signs taped to local diners. It's in the look in people's eyes, not panic, just resignation. There's no media frenzy, no government task force, just a quiet unraveling. Everyone knows what's coming, even if no one says it aloud. Missouri, the dependable closer in America's corn story, is now watching that story end mid-sentence. No one wants to say, collapse. So they say, temporary cuts. They say, restructuring. They say, waiting for the market to bounce back. But what if it doesn't? Because while Missouri's packing lines sit idle, the rest of the world is moving on. Canada is shipping clean, certified, non-GMO corn to South Korea and Japan. Brazil is pushing aggressively into new export markets. Even Eastern European countries are signing long-term trade deals. Missouri is standing still while the world reroutes. And the consequences aren't just economic. They're deeply personal. In rural Missouri, where families have worked in grain logistics for generations, the identity crisis is real. These aren't just jobs. They're family legacies, community anchors. And when they go, the towns hollow out. Missouri isn't just losing contracts, it's losing confidence. Losing stability, losing the sense of purpose that once came from being the final, essential step in feeding the world. And while politicians debate subsidies and market reforms in Washington, the people in Missouri wait, for answers, for orders, for a future. They wait, but the phone doesn't ring. The trucks don't come, the corn doesn't move. Missouri has become the unfinished page at the end of the book. A vital state now caught in limbo, no longer a shipping hub but a symbol of what happens when an entire agricultural system stops working. Not with an explosion, but with a fading whisper. The story of corn in America doesn't end in the soil. It ends at the port. And Missouri was that port. The final stop, the ribbon on the package. Now, that ribbon is untied. The doors are closed, and the world is already placing orders elsewhere. Once, America fed the world. Today, our corn rots in the fields while other nations rise. This isn't just about agriculture, it's about identity, survival, and what we've lost. If these stories matter to you, subscribe now. Not for the algorithm, but so the voices of farmers, families, and forgotten towns are never silenced. More truths are coming. Don't miss them.